Jalen Hurts, Quinyon Mitchell, and the Philadelphia Eagles take on Dak Prescott, Quinnen Williams, and the Dallas Cowboys. This is a must-win for the Cowboys. The Philadelphia Eagles just about have the division wrapped up with a win in this game. They essentially stamped their ticket to the postseason with a win over the Cowboys. They would all but win the division outright right before Thanksgiving. The Cowboys, they've got a lot of work to do. Look, a Monday night win against the Las Vegas Raiders is very nice. They're now 4-5-1, somewhat alive in the hunt, but this is where the beef of their schedule is here. They got the Eagles, they've got the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, then of course the Detroit Lions. So three pivotal matchups. They're going to have to find a way to go 2-1 over the next three to have a shot at the postseason. For the Eagles, it's them and the Rams. They're both 8-2. The Eagles have that tiebreaker. If they wind up the same record as LA, the first round bye will be theirs. They need to keep winning, especially in games like this against an opponent that they feel very confident that they can beat, even if it is on the road. This is a rematch of the Week 1 kickoff game where the Dallas Cowboys came out with a bang. They played some pretty dang good offense and defense in that game, keeping the game very close. I mean, I think a lot of us were surprised that it was 21-20 at the half. Cowboys with tons of opportunities. We're expecting a bit more of an explosion in the second half, and there's only 3 points scored with the Eagles putting up 3 points. The Cowboys with opportunities throughout the fourth quarter. Remember, that was the game where CeeDee Lamb had those drops in the fourth quarter, costing his team. Look, he still had 7 catches for 110 yards. He's immediately a guy that you have to circle for this one, looking to get a bit of revenge on Philadelphia. This Eagles team has ruined many a Cowboys season. Historically, you look back in really the last 30 years overall, specifically in the last 10 to 15. It's just an Eagles team that I just immediately think back to 2013. It won an in game for Dallas, and they wind up losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that was a Sunday night game. So Dallas, in order to pull off the upsets and win at home, well, it's on the right hand of Dak Prescott. They're going to have hard yards in the middle against this Philadelphia front. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, you can try and come up with a better defensive tackle duo. I'll wait and listen. It's funny now that Dallas Cowboy fans will have a little bit of an argument there. Kenny Clark, a nice day against the Raiders. Quinnen Williams, welcome to Dallas. He had a very nice performance as well on Monday Night Football. But look, when you hold the Detroit Lion high-profile attack as an offense, specifically on the ground, Gibbs, Montgomery, and they had a total of 74 yards on the ground as a team for the Lions. That's not like college where sack yards count against the ground. No, this was a team that only had 3.5 yards a carry against that Eagles front, and then limited Jared Goff to 14 of 37. Probably the worst game that Goff has had as the starting quarterback of the Lions. Overall, certainly you'd think back to that 5 interceptions against the Texans on a Sunday night game that they wound up winning. So the Philadelphia Eagles defense, they're humming. They're playing as good as you possibly can imagine. They handled the Packers on Monday Night Football. Remember, this was a short week for Philadelphia. Only allowed 7 points in that game and 9 to Detroit. So running through the NFC North as they beat the Vikings a couple of weeks ago prior. They'll have the Chicago Bears on Black Friday next week. So for the Cowboys, I mean, the right hand of Dak Prescott, he's been very good getting the football to CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. A massive performance from Prescott, 4 touchdowns, 268. As good a quarterback play that you can have, and they came out attacking. They sat Lamb and Pickens the first drive of the game. Message received, I think. 144 from George Pickens, 9 catches on 11 targets in the tub. CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches, 66, and a touchdown. This duo looked like they are one of the best in the NFL. Now on the other side, they face a Philadelphia Eagles defense that is, I'm saying, led by Quinyon Mitchell. I don't know if there's been a better cornerback in the NFC so far this season. He's been practically unbeatable in man-to-man coverage. Been trying to take him over the top. He'll have the responsibility for the most part of covering George Pickens on the outside, or when CeeDee Lamb is on the perimeter, he'll often have that matchup. And I'm ready to see that. It's going to be popcorn for those of you that love good cornerback play, where you see a ton of it with Quinyon Mitchell out there on the field. And then, of course, there's Cooper DeJean, versatility from the slot, working to the outside. He had a really nice day with the interception. I believe his first career regular season interception against the Lions on the first possession of the game. Philly wound up kicking the field goal, and they really grasped momentum overall for the rest of that Sunday night game. Again, there's so many weapons. There's Blankenship in the back end, as good as it gets now in safety. Andrew Makuba, I love this kid out of Texas, the rookie. He was so good for the Longhorns a season ago and really filling in a key spot here. It's pretty tough to play as a rookie for Philadelphia. He comes in and he's done a nice job. So this secondary is prepared for the challenge. I've talked about Prescott's right arm, but in order for him to be very effective, the Cowboys need to stay in second and manageable, third and manageable, and not be in third and long like you saw the Lions so often. What did that lead to? Well, it led to fourth downs, and Detroit was 0 for 5 on fourth down. The Cowboys, they had a pretty good day rushing the football against the Raiders. 31 carries for 114. They threw it 33 times. And you have that type of balance, you're going to have a great chance to win the game. 64 total offensive plays, and 31 of those are runs. You're going to feel good about that. Against the Eagles week 1, I really thought they should have kept it on the ground. They're running for 5.5 yards a carry. Williams and Sanders, they combined for 19 carries for 107. The 2 touchdowns from Williams in his first game for the Cowboys, and they stayed a little bit away from it there in the second half. Didn't have the patience from Schottenheimer. I would love to see them come out and stick with it, especially if it's a one-score game. Second half, taking a bit of the onus off of Dak Prescott and not having to be the hero to win this game. Look, we all know that this is an Eagles offense that has struggled. They had that explosion against Minnesota, Smith going off, A.J. Brown, yards everywhere. But the last couple of weeks, it's back to earth for this Philadelphia passing attack. It's on early downs, and they run the football, and it's Barkley up the middle for 2. And then it's Barkley up the middle for 3. It's 3rd and 5, and Hurts miscommunication, or the ball's just not in the right spot for Brown, or Brown's just not able to separate and make a play for his quarterback. And there's been so many 3-and-outs for Philadelphia. I feel like there's been, 15 in the last 4 weeks overall. This team's offense, it just feels like you've got a jet engine plugged into a Ferrari right now, and you've got a 98-year-old grandma driving that thing. I'm not calling anyone a 98-year-old grandma. I'm just saying you've got the most premium assets as far as talent goes, and you're not at all putting the pieces together to operate this machinery correctly and really make it gel the correct way. If there's anyone that I've got faith in, it's going to be Super Bowl champion Jalen Hurts and Super Bowl head coach Nick Sirianni, because what can you do? Well, you can have a lot of confidence in your defense. That allows you a lot of rope to play with against Dallas. I mean, even in worst case scenario, if Philadelphia got down by 10 points in this game, there's no quit in Philadelphia. First of all, you can't really kill this team, but also there's no panic. It feels like the Eagles could get behind in this game against Dallas, but really be able to stay with it, keep the course, keep the ball on the ground, be balanced. They ran the ball 38 times for 158 and only threw it 23 against the Cowboys week 1. They were fine at times to just flip the field, rely on their defense, and trust it. The Jalen Hurts ground game, he had 14 carries against the Cowboys. He had 10 carries against Detroit on Sunday night. So in big moments, when Hurts has to make plays, he often can. He had the 2 touchdowns. Barkley had a rushing touchdown in week 1. I really feel like this is a Jalen Hurts 7-8 carry type day where he's going to rely on his legs at times. Once again, 3rd down, if they do go to man coverage in the back end for Dallas, where he can absolutely kill you, 3rd and 12, and go out there and pick up 13 yards. He doesn't take the big hit or the shots. There's all these young quarterbacks, J.J. McCarthy, Jackson Dart. They're almost out there seeking contact. Guys, get down and slide or avoid that big hit. That's something that Jalen Hurts has done very well. So that's something that I believe that Philly comes out in this one, and they're going to be balanced continuously. They don't turn the football over immediately. They're going to have probably an 85% chance to win this game against Dallas, because that's probably going to mean a style of attack where they're like, okay, we're not going to lose this game with our offense. We're going to trust our defense at times and hand it off to Barkley for 23 times. Jalen Hurts, 8 carries, and run the football 36 times and pass the ball 28 times. And Philly's just like, all right, we can force takeaways with our D, get to Prescott, have a big play on special teams, and get out of there on the road with a big win. There's a number of different ways that this game plan goes. If there's one that you're really going to predict, it will be them attacking the middle of the field against Dallas. They can be had. Geno Smith had a couple of really nice throws. Brock Bowers clearly is like the only threat for that offense. Trey Tucker did have 47 yards and a touchdown, but Brock Bowers on 12 targets, 72 yards. The middle of that Cowboys defense dashed at times. You go back to that game against the Chicago Bears, you're probably going to look at for Philadelphia a little bit of the tape in that game where they struggled, and then this past week where Geno Smith was having a bit of success over the middle. This team, just their offensive line is so putrid. Geno sacked 4 times. Great job by Dallas getting pressure on him. They were phenomenal. One of their best defensive performances of the season, and 12 carries for 27 yards from this Las Vegas Raider team. The Cowboys probably with their best performance for a run defensive standpoint. What helps? Quinnen Williams now in there. Kenny Clark. How about that run defense? Jerry Jones is probably somewhere smiling saying, we didn't need Micah because he's not great as a run defender. We now have a good run defense. You can just imagine him. And then there's Donovan Izaraku on the edge now. Just for NFL draft talk, it feels like if the Cowboys could get an edge guy, a David Bailey, a Cassius Howell, probably won't be in the position to get like an Arvell Reese, but that feels like the direct position where they're going to go. Because this offense, statistically, this is the 3rd best offense in points a game, 29.2 points a game, 3rd in yards a game with 378 yards a game. So they have the yards, they score the points. The question is whether or not they can do that against Philadelphia, who is a bona fide top 5 offense. They don't have the sacks. They only have 21 sacks on the season, which is 20th in the league, but it is pressures. And who's been getting pressures in the last 2 games? That is the new addition after the 3rd round pick trade, Jalen Phillips. And man, is this guy happy to be a Philadelphia Eagle. It's the best time of his life right now. I can understand it. Leaving Miami and going to a Super Bowl champion team, the reigning champs, as well as a Super Bowl contending team, the current Super Bowl favorites in Philadelphia. He looks like he's going to fit that mold for them very well. And a guy like that, where he's going to get he's going to get one-on-one opportunities when he is being blocked, because Davis and Jalen Carter, they're going to take the double teams. And then from the back end, and you're bringing in Jahad Campbell, Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith when healthy. I mean, this Eagles front 7, you can be almost as good, but I don't know how you're going to get better than all of these guys and how talented they are up front. So this is a tough day for the Cowboys on the ground. Really feel they have to commit to it and stick with it at times, and not have to throw the football more than 35 times to beat them. Prescott threw it 34 times. I believe that's exactly what they need to do. Somewhere in the high 20s, somewhere in the low 30s throwing the ball. This could be a 1-score game in the 4th quarter, and that's what you're probably asking for if you're a Cowboy fan. Just an opportunity to beat Philadelphia. A chance where it's close late in the 4th, and you can apply scoreboard pressure and have a chance maybe for your field goal kicker, Brandon Aubrey, to make a big kick. The line for this game, it does seem to be a little bit... it's a hard call. I'm just going to say that to sort of go with one of the teams here. I'm going to take the Eagles in this game at 30-24. Really believe that this defense at this level can put pressure on Prescott, force the turnovers, whether it be Phillips with like 13 pressures in 2 games overall now, coming right up the middle. The back end that's opportunistic and so good at just forcing punts, just getting the football back into their offense's hands. but I do see a big day from a Pickens or a CeeDee Lamb overall. Those guys could probably combine for maybe 165 yards, because this is still a great pair of weapons. Why I think the Eagles can score 30 points and the Cowboys wind up actually scoring 24. That probably sounds like a lot to you. Look, I see it. I see an explosive run coming from Barkley. He's been close at times. You're really waiting for it. It's amazing he's only had 2 runs over 20 yards the entire season. But against this Cowboys defense, I know it's tough in the middle. It's the yards on the edge. The perimeter runs, getting him moving towards the edge of that defense, away from Quinnen Williams, away from Kenny Clark. These guys are too good on the interior now, where Dallas has a good run-stuffing interior. Get it on the perimeter to the outside and get Barkley in space. So whether that's a pitch, a toss, running counter, just get Saquon Barkley moving. And I see an explosive run as well as one-on-ones to Brown. I think there's some point where they just take a shot, and A.J. Brown is going to be better than any of these defensive backs for the Cowboys able to make a play. There's still a lot of holes in that Dallas Cowboy defense overall. These wide receivers are ultra talented. Devonta Smith, fearless, is the number one word I use. If you watch these Blitz with Blender videos I do, I say that. Devonta Smith is fearless going over the middle. Look for a decent day, a 150-yard combined Smith and Brown day. Wide receiver play doesn't really get much better than A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb overall. I know that Pickens and Lamb have had the off-field stuff and haven't had the full effort there the whole year, but now that it's meaningful ball in a rivalry game, really expect them to come out and potentially put on a show. And then for Philadelphia with A.J. Brown, the guy may have complaints, but he is still a premier wide receiver in this league, and Devonta Smith's arguably the best number 2 in the game, so still very dangerous. And I'm going to go with Philadelphia. If it comes down to a big moment, I trust the mobility of Jalen Hurts to get outside the pocket, scramble, and pick up that first down, as well as Saquon. He just feels like a racehorse that hasn't quite been let out the gate to fully roam free just yet. I believe he has an opportunity to break one for a long one, and then they'll have their shots one-on-one against Dallas in this game to take advantage of. So I'm going to go with the Eagles 30-24. Let me know down below what you think of that one. I know the injury to Lane Johnson, right tackle, that poses a massive hole for this Eagles team on IR for the next 4-5 weeks without him. They're hoping that they get him back healthy for the playoff push at the end of the season. Cam Jurgens left the game early against Detroit, so you saw the immediate impact on, for example, the tush push, where they failed 2 or 3 tush pushes where they weren't able to get any yards in this game. But I'm going to go with Philly 30-24 until Dallas can prove something different to be able to pull off one of these big type of matchup games where they're an underdog and pull off a statement win. I am going to stick with the champs in this game. So I appreciate you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this Blitz with Blender video, please subscribe for more content in the future. My name is Josh Blender, making NFL and college videos weekly. The NFL postseason is coming right up. The college football playoff season is almost here. A Big Ten championship, SEC title game. The rest of the conference title games are coming up on the schedule. So this is easily the best time of year. The holidays are right around the corner. Thanksgiving, you've got that holiday cheery spirit, you've got very meaningful football, the great rivalry matchups, and playoff implications everywhere. So I appreciate you so much for watching. Subscribe for more in the future. I'll try and get down there in the comments and engage with everybody, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.